"If you make my daughter smile, I'll marry you," the billionaire father laughed. And what the cleaner did was unbelievable. The executive elevator ascended in silence. Ethan Vance adjusted the cuff of his Italian shirt as he watched the numbers change on the panel. Beside him, a little blonde girl with light blue eyes held his hand tightly, but without saying a word. Lily was only 6 years old, but she already carried the weight of someone who had lost too much. Her golden hair fell in soft waves over her shoulders, framing a little face that rarely smiled. Since her mother's death 8 months earlier, the child had lived like a silent shadow. "You're staying with me at the office today," Ethan said, more a statement than a question. The girl just nodded. The nanny was unavailable, and he needed to handle urgent contracts. Bringing Lily to Vance Industries wasn't ideal, but it would only be for a few hours. The doors opened to reveal the main lobby. The environment exuded power, polished marble, mirrored glass, and employees walking with controlled haste. Everything was impeccable, everything was cold. Ethan crossed the hall with firm steps, Lily running to keep up with him. The youngest CEO in the country was only 32, but he commanded an empire that could make or break smaller companies. "Mr. Vance, the merger contracts are ready," informed his assistant. "Margaret, 15 minutes. I need to get Lily settled first." He opened his office door and pointed to an armchair near the window. The girl sat down obediently, taking a coloring book from her bag. Her movements were precise, almost mechanical, as if she were following a protocol. When was the last time he had seen Lily truly play or laugh? The memory was lost between meetings and business trips. "I'll stay here," she murmured, without looking up. "Good girl." The next 50 minutes passed between signatures and decisions that would move millions. When he returned to the office, he found Lily in the exact same position, coloring with meticulous care. "I need to go down to the lobby. Are you coming with me?" Lily closed the book and stood up without question. They went down 3 floors, where Ethan needed to check the new security systems. The 20th floor lobby was busier, with employees from different departments circulating, and it was there that Ethan saw something that caught his attention. A blonde woman was on her knees, scrubbing a stain on the marble floor. There was nothing special about the scene. She was just another cleaner. But then she lifted her head and smiled at the security guard passing by. "Good morning, Robert. How's your wife?" "Better, Clara. Thanks for asking." "That's great. If you need anything, just let me know." Her smile lit up her face. Light blue eyes shone with a genuine joy that contrasted with everything around her. Clara couldn't be more than 28, and there was something about her energy that made the environment feel less formal. Ethan frowned. A new employee, obviously. What bothered him was the ease with which she turned a simple greeting into something warm. "Daddy, can I sit over there?" Lily pointed to a nearby bench. "Of course." He walked her over, keeping his eyes on the cleaner. Clara hummed softly as she worked, completely oblivious to the fact that she was being watched by the CEO. Other employees gathered in the lobby for lunch, and they all seemed to gravitate naturally toward her. An idea began to form in Ethan's mind. A foolish idea, but one that suddenly seemed irresistible. Beside him, Lily watched the activity with silent curiosity. The first time in months she had shown interest in anything. Ethan stood up and walked to the center of the lobby. The conversations quieted as employees noticed his presence. Clara looked up, surprised to see the CEO there. "Good afternoon," he said, his voice cutting through the silence. "Good afternoon, Mr. Vance," a few replied in chorus. Clara stood up quickly, holding her cleaning cloth. There was nervousness in her eyes, but also genuine curiosity. "You're new here," Ethan said. "Yes, sir. I started last week. Clara Miller." "Clara?" He repeated the name as if testing its sound. Then, without warning, his impulsive mind took over. Maybe it was the exhaustion of seeing Lily so listless. Maybe it was curiosity. Or maybe it was simply the desire to break the suffocating routine. "I have an interesting proposal for you, Clara," he announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. The lobby grew even quieter. Clara blinked, clearly confused. "A proposal, sir?" Ethan pointed to Lily, who was watching them with unusual attention. "That's my daughter, Lily. She hasn't smiled in a long time. If you can make her smile—" He paused dramatically. "I'll marry you." The silence was deafening. Some employees gasped, others' eyes widened. Margaret turned pale. Clara, for her part, tilted her head slightly, as if processing what she had just heard. Ethan expected nervousness, anxious laughter, perhaps outrage. What he didn't expect was the serenity with which Clara replied, "All right, I accept." Now it was Ethan's turn to be surprised. She didn't seem to be joking. There was determination in her clear eyes. "Really?" he asked, genuinely intrigued. "Why not?" Clara smiled, and that light radiated through the room. "Lily seems like a lovely girl." Without further ceremony, she put away her cleaning supplies and walked over to Lily. The girl watched her approach with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. "Hi, Lily, I'm Clara," she said, crouching to be at the child's level. "Your dad told me you're very smart." Lily didn't answer, but her blue eyes studied Clara's face. "Do you know what I have here?" Clara reached into her pocket and pulled out a large, colorful button. "This is a very special magic button." "Buttons aren't magic," Lily murmured, but there was interest in her voice. "Ah, but this one is different." Clara held the button with theatrical care. "This is the official button of smiles. Want to see how it works?" She pressed the button against her own forehead and made an exaggerated face of concentration. Let me see." Clara closed her eyes. "Yes, it's working. I'm seeing a story in here." Lily leaned forward, completely forgetting her reserved posture. "What story?" "It's about a brave princess who lived in a castle made of clouds. She had golden hair like yours and blue eyes like precious stones. But one day, a very rude dragon stole all the colors from her kingdom." "And what did she do?" Lily asked, completely engrossed. Clara acted out the whole story, using different voices. The dragon was rude because no one had ever taught him good manners. The princess decided that, instead of fighting, she would teach the dragon to be kind. "And do you know what happened when the dragon finally learned to smile?" Clara pressed the button again. "All the colors came back. And they became the best friends in the world." Lily was hanging on every word. When Clara made the dragon's gruff voice say, "Thank you, princess," something magical happened. A small smile appeared on Lily's lips. Then, a stifled giggle. And then, as if a dam had broken, she let out a crystal-clear laugh that echoed through the entire lobby. The sound was like a thunderbolt to Ethan. How long had it been since he'd heard Lily laugh like that? Months? Maybe more than a year. He stood frozen, watching his daughter hug the colorful button and laugh with a joy he had forgotten she possessed. Clara stood up, clearly satisfied. "Mission accomplished," she said simply. Ethan stared at her for a long moment. Part of him was genuinely impressed. Another part was bewildered. He had made that proposal as a joke. He never imagined someone could achieve the impossible. "Thank you," he said at last, his voice drier than he intended. "You're welcome," Clara replied without losing her smile. "Lily is an incredible little girl. She just needed a little bit of magic." "Clara, will you be back tomorrow?" Lily called out. "Of course, sweetie. I work here every day." "Can I see the magic button again?" "Whenever you want." Ethan watched the entire interaction in silence. There was something different in the air, as if something fundamental had shifted. Lily was radiant, chatting excitedly with Clara. Margaret approached discreetly. "Mr. Vance, the directors—" "Cancel the meeting," he said, without taking his eyes off Lily. "Reschedule for tomorrow." For the first time in a long time, Ethan Vance didn't know what to think. The next morning, Ethan was having coffee when Lily appeared in the kitchen, already dressed and with her backpack on. "I'm going with you today," she announced, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Ethan nearly choked on his coffee. Lily rarely got up early, and she never showed interest in accompanying him to work. "Lily, you have your private tutoring with Mrs. Helen today." "I can do it later," she replied, adjusting her backpack straps. "I want to help Clara." "Help Clara?" Ethan frowned. Since when was Lily interested in helping anyone? For the past few months, the girl had barely spoken to the household staff. Help how? She said, I could hold the cloths while she cleans, and that I can tell her stories too. There was an excitement in Lily's voice that Ethan hadn't heard in a very long time. It was hard to say no when she was finally showing interest in something. All right, but you stay quiet and don't get in anyone's way. I promise. The smile she gave him was genuine, and Ethan felt a strange tightness in his chest. When was the last time Lily had smiled at him like that? In the car, she chatted the entire way about the magic button and the story of the princess and the dragon. Ethan listened, half distracted, but he couldn't ignore how alive his daughter seemed. After months of silence, hearing Lily talk non-stop was almost surreal. Daddy, do you think there are other magic buttons? I don't know, Lily. Clara said maybe. That magic exists everywhere. We just have to know where to look. Magic. Ethan rolled his eyes internally. What kind of nonsense was that? But Lily seemed to believe it wholeheartedly, so he just nodded. When they arrived at the company, Lily practically jumped out of the car. In the elevator, she shifted from one foot to the other, clearly anxious. Do you think Clara is here already? Probably. The cleaning staff starts early. Can I go look for her? After I take care of a few things in my office. Lily pouted but agreed. In the office, she sat in the same armchair as the day before, but this time she didn't reach for her coloring book. Instead, she stared out the window, as if waiting for something. Ethan tried to focus on his emails, but it was hard to ignore his daughter's restlessness. After 15 minutes, she couldn't take it anymore. Can I go see Clara now? Lily, please, just for a minute. There was a sparkle in her blue eyes that Ethan hadn't seen since before Sarah's death. How could he say no? All right? But I'm going with you. They went down to the 20th floor, where they found Clara organizing her cleaning cart. When she saw Lily, her face lit up. Hi, sweetie. Did you come to help me today? I did, Lily ran to her. I brought some new stories too. How wonderful. I'd love to hear them. Ethan positioned himself strategically near the reception desk, where he could watch everything without seeming like he was spying. Technically, he needed to review some reports right there, so it wasn't a lie. In the following minutes, he witnessed something he hadn't expected. Lily, who was usually shy and reserved, began chatting animatedly with Clara. She talked about the books she was reading, the piano lessons she had stopped attending, and how much she missed her mother. Clara listened with genuine attention, asking questions and making comments that kept the conversation flowing. It was as if she knew exactly what to say to make Lily feel at ease. You know, Lily, your mum must have been a very special person, Clara said while wiping a table, because you're an incredible girl, and incredible people always have incredible parents. She was, Lily sighed. She used to sing to me every night. How lovely. Do you remember any of the songs? I remember one she always sang. It was about stars. Can you sing it for me? Ethan stopped pretending to read the report. Lily hadn't sung since Sarah's death, not even in the shower, where she used to sing her heart out. To his surprise, Lily began to hum softly. It was a simple song about wishes made on stars, one Sarah always sang at bedtime. The girl's voice was fragile but carried a sweetness that made Ethan's chest ache. Clara stopped cleaning to listen, and when Lily finished, she clapped softly. What a beautiful voice. Your mum must have been so proud. Do you think she can hear me singing, even in heaven? I'm absolutely sure of it, Clara answered without hesitation. Mothers always hear their children, no matter where they are. Lily smiled and began to sing again, this time a little louder. Ethan watched, fascinated. It was as if Clara had a magic key that unlocked parts of Lily that had been shut for months. Throughout the morning, he found excuses to pass by the 20th floor. There was always something to check, someone to meet, some reason to be there, and he always saw the same scene. Lily chatting excitedly with Clara, helping with small tasks, singing softly. On one of his passes, he heard Lily ask, Clara, do you have any kids? No, sweetie, it's just me. But would you like to? Clara paused her cleaning for a moment, as if the question had caught her off guard. You know, I've never really thought about it, but if I had a daughter, I'd want her to be just like you. The smile Lily gave could have lit up the entire building, and Ethan felt something strange stir in his chest, something he couldn't identify. At lunchtime, Margaret found him in the hallway. "Mr. Vance, you need to sign these contracts. Later. But sir, they're urgent." "The meeting with the Japanese," I said later, Margaret. She looked at him, surprised. Ethan never postponed important matters, but at that moment, he was busy watching Lily teach Clara how to make paper airplanes with sheets she had borrowed from the printer. "Look," Lily shouted when the plane flew perfectly. "I did it! Perfect!" "You're a paper airplane expert," Clara laughed, and the sound echoed down the hall. It was then that Ethan realized he couldn't stop watching. There was something magnetic about the dynamic between Lily and Clara. The ease with which they connected was almost unsettling. Why could a cleaner make his daughter smile when he, her own father, failed miserably? The same pattern repeated throughout the afternoon. Lily stuck to Clara's side, talking about everything and nothing. Clara responded with infinite patience, as if she had nothing more important to do in the world than give a 6-year-old girl her full attention. "Daddy," Lily ran to him when it was time to go home. "Can I come back tomorrow?" "Lily, you have commitment. Please? Clara said she's going to teach me how to make paper flowers tomorrow." Paper flowers? Ethan looked at Clara, who was putting away her cleaning supplies with a small smile on her face. There was something about her that bothered him. It wasn't just the ease with which she had won over Lily. It was something more. How could someone be so natural, so genuinely interested in a child she barely knew? In Ethan's experience, people always wanted something in return. "We'll see," he replied, but he knew he had already lost the battle. In the car, Lily couldn't stop talking about Clara. How funny she was, how kind, how she really understood the things Lily said. "She's different from other people, Daddy." "Different how?" "She looks at me like I'm important." The words hit Ethan like a punch to the gut. He looked at Lily. Of course he did. She was his daughter. But when was the last time he had truly seen her? That night, Lily ate dinner without needing to be called 3 times. She told the housekeeper about her entire day, imitating the voice Clara had used for the dragon in the story. Before bed, she sang her mother's song again. Ethan stood at her bedroom door, listening. For months, he had been trying to find a way to bring Lily back. Psychologists, therapists, new toys, trips, nothing worked. And then a stranger, a cleaner, shows up and in 2 days achieves what he couldn't in 8 months. This should have been a good thing. Lily was clearly better, happier, more herself. So why did Ethan feel so uneasy? Why, for the first time in years, did he feel like he was losing control of something? And why couldn't he stop thinking about Clara Miller? Ethan couldn't sleep well that night. He tossed and turned, thinking about how easily Clara had connected with Lily. It was too natural, too perfect. And in his experience, when something seemed too perfect, it was usually hiding something. The next morning, he arrived at the office earlier than usual. Lily was still asleep when he left the house, which was fortunate. He needed a few hours to resolve an issue that had been bothering him since the day before. He called James Morrison, a private investigator he had used for years for sensitive company matters. James was discreet, efficient, and never asked unnecessary questions. "Ethan, what a surprise. What can I do for you?" "I need a background check." "Nothing too deep, just basic information." "Of course, on who?" "An employee at the company, Clara Miller. She works in cleaning. Started last week." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Any specific problem?" "Not exactly." Ethan hesitated. How could he explain he was investigating someone for being too good with his daughter? "I just want to know more about her. Financial situation, background, lifestyle. You understand?" "I understand. I'll need a few days." 2 days max, James. It's important." "You got it." Ethan hung up the phone and tried to focus on work, but it was difficult. Every time he looked out his office window, he remembered Lily humming the day before. She had started singing again. After 8 months of absolute silence, his daughter was singing again. He should have been grateful. And he was. But he was also unsettled. Around 10 in the morning, Margaret knocked on the door. "Mr. Vance, Lily is here. She said you promised she could come today." Ethan sighed. He hadn't exactly promised, but he hadn't said no either. "You can send her in." Lily appeared at the door with a radiant smile and a small bag in her hand. "Hi, Daddy. I brought some drawings to show Clara." "Drawings? I made them last night before bed. Drawings of the dragon story. I think she'll like them." She opened the bag and showed him the papers. They were colorful drawings of a blonde princess fighting a green dragon. Very basic, as expected from a 6-year-old eyes, but done with care. "They look nice," Ethan commented, and it was true. "Can I go show her now?" "Sure, but remember the rules." I know. Don't interrupt her work." Lily ran off, and Ethan followed at a safe distance. He wanted to observe their interaction one more time. Maybe he could understand what was bothering him so much. When they reached the 20th floor, Clara was cleaning the hallway windows. Upon seeing Lily, she stopped immediately. "Hi, sweetie. How was your night?" "Good. Look what I made." Lily showed her the drawings with pride. Clara took the papers and examined each one carefully, as if they were important works of art. "Lily, these are amazing. Look at how you drew the princess just like in our story. And the dragon is perfect." "You really like them?" "I love them. Can I keep one for myself?" "You can keep them all if you want." "How generous. I'll treasure them." Ethan watched Clara carefully fold the drawings and place them in her uniform pocket. There was nothing forced about her gestures. She genuinely seemed interested in a child's scribbles. Throughout the morning, he found excuses to pass through the hallway. The scene repeated itself, Lily chattering away, Clara listening attentively, the two of them laughing together. It was as if they had known each other for years. Late the next afternoon, James called. "I have the report you asked for." "Go ahead." Clara Miller, 28, single, lives alone in a small apartment in the Millfield district, has worked as a cleaner for 3 years, always for different companies. Before that, she worked as a sales clerk, waitress, and receptionist. Financial situation: complicated. She has several overdue bills. Renty credit card and some installments for I don't know what. She works hard to make ends meet, but it seems like the money is never enough. Ethan frowned. If Clara had financial problems, maybe there was an ulterior motive for getting close to Lily. Maybe she knew who he was and was trying to take advantage of the situation. Anything else? Actually, yes. And it's interesting. I spoke with some of her neighbors. Apparently, Clara is known in the building as someone who is always willing to help. What do you mean? She waters her neighbors' plants when they travel. She brings food to those who are sick. She helps the elderly with heavy groceries. One of the neighbors told me that Clara has lent her money several times, even when she was struggling herself. That didn't make sense. If Clara was in financial trouble, why would she be helping other people? Any information on the reason for the debts? I couldn't find out. She's private about it. But from what I gathered, it doesn't seem to be related to addiction or lavish spending. Her apartment is very simple, almost empty. No car, no expensive clothes. It's like the money disappears for a reason she doesn't tell anyone. Ethan hung up the phone more confused than before. The report hadn't revealed anything suspicious. On the contrary, it painted Clara as a genuinely good person who helped others even when she was in difficulty. But that didn't lessen his unease. In fact, it increased it. If Clara was really as altruistic as she seemed, why was she working as a cleaner? Why didn't she have a more stable life? And most importantly, what was causing her to spend money she didn't have on things the investigator couldn't uncover? There were missing pieces to this puzzle, and Ethan hated incomplete puzzles. That afternoon, when he went to pick up Lily from the 20th floor, he found them sitting on the floor making paper flowers from scrap paper. "Daddy, look how beautiful." Lily showed him a crooked but lovingly made yellow rose. Very nice. Clara taught me. She said her mum taught her when she was little. Ethan looked at Clara, who smiled discreetly. My mum always said that paper flowers last forever, unlike real ones. And where is your mother now? Ethan asked, trying to sound casual. Clara's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. She's no longer here. I'm sorry. Thank you. There was a moment of uncomfortable silence. Lily, sensing the shift in mood, quickly changed the subject. Daddy, can I give this flower to Margaret? She was nice to me today. Of course you can. As they went back up to the office, Ethan thought about Clara's reaction when he asked about her mother. There was sadness there, but also something else, something that felt like guilt. Maybe that was the answer to her mysterious debts, but even with all the doubts, one thing was undeniable. Lily was blossoming. She was happy in a way he hadn't seen in months, and as much as it bothered him not to fully understand Clara Miller, he couldn't deny that she was doing his daughter good. The question was, how long would it last, and what would be the price? Ethan spent the whole night thinking about James's report. Clara was struggling financially, yet she still helped others. She worked as a cleaner, but treated Lily like she was the most precious thing in the world. There was something genuine about her that he couldn't question, no matter how hard he tried. The next morning, he found Lily already dressed in the kitchen, her backpack ready. I'm going with you again today, she announced, as if the decision was already made. Lily, you can't come to the office every day. Why not? I don't bother anyone, and Clara is happy when I help her. Ethan sighed. How could he argue with that? Lily was clearly better, more energetic, more communicative. It would be cruel to cut off the one thing that made her smile. All right, but today is the last day of the week. You're staying home on the weekend. Lily's face fell a little, but she agreed. On the way to the office, she talked about her plans with Clara. They wanted to make more paper flowers, maybe try more complicated origami. Clara had promised to teach her how to make a swan. She's very smart, Daddy. She knows how to do a lot of things. Is that so? She said she learned by watching videos on the internet because she didn't have money for classes, but she wanted to learn anyway. Ethan felt something stir in his chest. Clara taught herself because she couldn't afford lessons. Another piece of the puzzle that only increased his admiration for her. When they arrived at the office, Lily ran straight to the 20th floor. Ethan followed, as always, keeping his distance. Clara was organizing her cleaning cart when she saw Lily approach. Her face lit up with that smile that had become so familiar. Hi, sweetie. Ready for another day of adventures? Ready? I brought colored paper from home to make the swans. How wonderful! We'll make the most beautiful swans in the world. Ethan watched their interaction for a few minutes. There was something in the way Clara looked at Lily that touched him deeply. It was the look of someone who truly cared. There was no pretense there, no hidden agenda. Throughout the morning, he found himself thinking more and more about Clara's situation. She lived alone, had financial difficulties, yet she dedicated her time and energy to making his daughter happy. She asked for nothing in return, expected no favors. Around noon, an idea began to form in his mind. An idea that, a few weeks ago, he would have considered completely absurd. What if Clara moved in with them? The house was enormous, with plenty of spare rooms. Lily would love having Clara around all the time, and Clara would no longer have to worry about rent or basic bills. But it was a crazy idea. Inviting an employee, practically a stranger, to live in his house. What would people say? What would Margaret think? Then he remembered Lily's smile from the morning before. The laughter that had echoed through the house for the first time in months. The way his daughter had started singing again. Who cared what other people thought? At the end of the afternoon, when he went to get Lily, he found them sitting on the floor, surrounded by colored paper swans. Daddy, look how many swans we made. Lily proudly showed him the small collection. They're beautiful. Clara said I can take some home, to decorate my room. Ethan looked at Clara, who was carefully putting away her supplies. Clara, can I speak with you for a moment? Alone? She seemed surprised, but agreed. Lily stayed behind, playing with the swans as they moved a few feet away. "I want to make you a proposal," Ethan said, getting straight to the point. "A proposal, sir. I want you to come live with us." Clara blinked, clearly shocked. "I'm sorry, sir, but I don't understand." "It's exactly what it sounds like. I have a large house with empty rooms. Lily adores your company. And, well, I know you have some financial difficulties." Clara's face turned red. "Mr. Vance, I don't—" "It's not charity," he interrupted her. "It's practical. Lily is happy. You're more comfortable. Everyone wins." Clara was silent for a long moment, clearly processing the offer. "I wouldn't know how to repay you." "You don't have to repay anything. Just keep being who you are with Lily." "But people will think—" "I don't care what people think." She looked him in the eyes, as if trying to understand his true intentions. "Why are you doing this?" Ethan hesitated. How could he explain that? For the first time in months, his daughter seemed alive. How could he say that Clara had accomplished in a week what psychologists hadn't in months? "Because Lily needs you," he said simply, "and maybe you need a break from financial worries." Clara looked over at Lily, who was humming softly as she arranged the swans by color. "I need to think." "Of course. There's no rush." "Actually," she sighed, "there's not much to think about. You're right about the financial difficulties. And Lily, she's special. If my presence really helps—" "It does. A lot. Then I accept. But on one condition. Which is, if at any point you feel it's not working out, you tell me immediately. No formalities." "Deal." Clara smiled, and Ethan felt a strange sensation in his stomach. Relief, perhaps, or satisfaction for having made the right decision. "When would you like me to move in?" "Whenever is best for you." "This weekend?" "Perfect." They walked back to where Lily was. The girl looked at them curiously. "Lily," Ethan said, "how would you feel if Clara came to live with us?" Lily's blue eyes widened. "Really? Can she really?" "If she wants to." "I do," Clara confirmed, smiling. Lily let out a squeal of joy and ran to hug Clara. The hug was so tight, it nearly knocked the woman over. "This is going to be amazing. I can show you my room and the library and the garden. I can't wait to see everything," Clara laughed. On Saturday morning, Ethan sent his driver to pick up Clara's things. There wasn't much: some clothes, books, and a box of personal items. Lily insisted on going along to help. When Clara arrived at the mansion, Ethan watched her reaction. She stopped at the entrance, looking around with a thoughtful expression. The house was truly impressive. 3 stories, immense gardens, expensive furniture in every room. But there was a coldness to the atmosphere. Elegant, but distant. Rich, but empty. "It's a beautiful house," Clara said politely. "Thank you. Lily will show you to your room." "Come on, Clara." Lily pulled the woman by the hand. "Your room is next to mine." Ethan followed them down the halls, watching how Clara discreetly examined everything. The room he had chosen for her was large and well furnished, with a beautiful view of the garden. "It's perfect," Clara said. "Thank you." "Now I'll show you the rest of the house," Lily announced. The two of them ran off, and Ethan was left alone in the room. For some reason, he felt anxious. What if Clara didn't feel comfortable here? What if the social difference was too great? But his worries proved to be unfounded. During dinner, Clara chatted naturally, asking questions about the house routine and Lily's preferences. There was no apparent awkwardness or discomfort. "Lily told me you play the piano," Clara said. "I used to," Lily corrected, looking down. "I stopped after Mom died." "I understand," Clara nodded. "Sometimes it's hard to do things that remind us of those we've lost." "Do you play an instrument?" "A little guitar, nothing fancy." "Can you play for me sometime?" "Of course, sweetie." Ethan watched the entire conversation in silence. There was an ease to the way Clara handled delicate subjects. She didn't force or pressure, just accepted and offered alternatives. The next morning, Sunday, Ethan came down for breakfast and found something different. Soft music was playing in the background. Nothing loud or intrusive, just a gentle melody that made the atmosphere more welcoming. Clara was in the kitchen, helping the housekeeper prepare breakfast. There was a vase of fresh flowers on the breakfast table, and sunlight streamed through the open windows. "Good morning," she said when she saw him. "I hope you don't mind the music. I can turn it off if you prefer." "No, it's fine," Ethan replied, surprised to realize it really was fine. Lily came down a few minutes later, already talking excitedly about her plans for the day. "Clara, do you want to see my book collection?" "I'd love to. And can I show you where Mommy planted the roses?" "Of course, sweetie." Throughout the day, Ethan watched how Clara moved about the house. She didn't try to change everything at once, but small details began to appear. Fresh flowers in other rooms, open windows to let the air circulate, soft music that created a warmer environment. That evening, as he was about to go up to his room, he heard voices coming from Lily's room. The door was ajar, and he approached discreetly. Clara was sitting on the edge of the bed telling Lily a story. A different story from the previous ones, quieter, about a little star that helped children have good dreams. "And when you wake up tomorrow," Clara said in a soft voice, "the little star will be there in the sky, sending you all the love your mummy saved up for you. Do you think Mummy can see the star too?" "I'm sure she can. And I'm sure she's happy every time you smile." Lily smiled, snuggling into her pillows. "Thank you for the story, Clara. You're welcome, sweetie. Sleep well." Clara turned off the light and left the room, nearly bumping into Ethan in the hallway. "Sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to wake you." "It's not that. I was just... Thank you." "For what?" Ethan glanced through the ajar door, where Lily was already sleeping peacefully. "For everything." Clara smiled and walked toward her own room. Ethan stood in the hallway for a few minutes, listening to the silence of the house. But it was a different silence than before, lighter, warmer. For the first time in months, his house truly felt like a home. And for the first time since Sarah's death, Lily had fallen asleep with a smile on her face. 2 weeks had passed since Clara moved into the house. Ethan still maintained his usual routine. Wake up early, quick coffee, office until late. The difference was that now, when he came home, the atmosphere was completely different. There was laughter echoing through the halls, soft music playing in the living room, the smell of fresh flowers that Clara religiously replaced every 3 days, and Lily was unrecognizable. The girl who used to stay locked in her room now ran through the house, looking for Clara to show her drawings, to ask for help with schoolwork, or simply to talk. It was as if someone had flipped a switch that had been broken for months. Ethan watched everything from a distance, as always. Not that he didn't care, he cared more than he would admit. But he didn't know how to insert himself into that dynamic. For so long, his relationship with Lily had been reduced to practical matters: school, doctor's appointments, obligations. He had forgotten how to simply play. On Wednesday evening, he came home earlier than usual. A meeting had been cancelled, and he decided not to schedule another appointment. When he entered the living room, he found Lily and Clara sitting on the rug, surrounded by puzzle pieces. "Hi, Daddy," Lily waved without taking her eyes off the pieces. "We're building a castle. It has 1,000 pieces." 1,000 pieces? Ethan approached, curious. "Isn't that too hard?" "Clara says we can do anything if we have patience," Lily replied, fitting a piece into the castle tower. Clara looked at Ethan with a discreet smile. "Lily is very good at puzzles. She has an incredible visual memory." "Really?" Ethan sat in a nearby armchair, watching. "Yes." "Look." Lily picked up a piece and fit it perfectly into a seemingly impossible spot. "I remember where I saw this color before." Ethan stayed there for a few minutes, just observing. There was something hypnotic about his daughter's concentration, the way she analyzed each piece before trying to fit it. "Daddy, do you want to help?" Lily asked suddenly. "I'm not very good at puzzles." "That's okay. Clara wasn't good at first either, but she learned." Clara laughed. "It's true. Lily is a very patient teacher." Ethan hesitated. When was the last time he had sat on the floor to play with something? Probably before Lily was born. But there was something in the hopeful look in his daughter's blue eyes that made it impossible to say no. "All right, where do I sit?" "Here." Lily patted the rug beside her. "You can be in charge of the edges. They're easier." Ethan settled on the floor, feeling slightly ridiculous in his expensive suit sitting on the living room rug. But Lily handed him a handful of straight-edged pieces, and he began to look for where they fit. "This one looks like it goes in this corner," he said, trying to fit a blue piece. "Good one." Lily clapped. "You're better at this than you thought." In the following minutes, something strange happened. Ethan completely forgot about work, the emails he needed to answer, the next day's meeting. His mind focused solely on finding the right place for each piece. There was something relaxing about it, almost meditative. "Daddy, you're smiling," Lily observed. Ethan touched his own face, surprised. He was indeed smiling. "I think I'm enjoying this more than I expected." "I knew it," Lily laughed. "Clara always says everyone likes puzzles. They just need to find the right one." They continued assembling until dinner time. When the housekeeper called them, Ethan was surprised to realize that more than an hour had passed. It felt like only a few minutes. "Can we continue after dinner?" Lily asked. "Of course," Ethan replied, and realized he truly wanted to continue. During dinner, Lily talked excitedly about their progress on the puzzle, about how good her dad was at finding the edge pieces, and how cool it would be when they finished and could start another one. Clara just listened and smiled, occasionally asking questions or making comments that kept the conversation flowing. Ethan noticed how she had a gift for making people feel heard and important. "Clara," he said suddenly, "thank you for encouraging Lily with these activities." "No need to thank me. Lily is a brilliant child. She just needed space to show it. Still, it makes a difference." After dinner, they returned to the puzzle. This time, Ethan sat on the floor without hesitation. The pieces slowly came together, and the image of the castle began to take shape. "We're almost done with the main tower," Lily said excitedly. "Just a few more pieces for the roof," Clara agreed. Ethan fit a red piece into its place and felt a small wave of satisfaction. It was a simple, almost childish feeling, but it was real. "Done." Lily placed the last piece of the tower. "We did it!" She clapped, radiant, and Ethan was surprised to feel a pang of pride. They had worked together on something and completed it. It was a small thing, but significant. "Now let's start the castle garden," Lily announced, already sorting the green pieces. "Lily, it's time for you to get ready for bed," Clara said gently. "Oh, but we were doing so well." "We can continue tomorrow," Ethan heard himself say. "The puzzle isn't going anywhere." "Promise." "Promise." Lily smiled and gave him a goodnight kiss on the cheek. It was a simple gesture she did every night, but this time Ethan really paid attention. He felt her affection, her trust. When Lily went up for her bath, Clara began organizing the pieces into groups by color. "You don't have to do that," Ethan said. "I don't mind, and it will be easier to continue tomorrow." They worked together in silence for a few minutes. It was a comfortable silence, without the need to fill the space with unnecessary words. "Thank you," Ethan said finally. "For what?" "For including me. I haven't done this in a long time." "Playing?" "Anything with Lily, really. I work so much. And when I get home, she's either busy or going to bed. We've grown distant." Clara stopped sorting the pieces and looked at him. "It's never too late to change that. Sometimes I feel like I don't know how. Sarah was always better at these things. I was the provider. She was everything else. But now you're everything, and Lily needs you in different ways." "How do you know so much about children?" "You've never had any," Clara smiled sadly. "I've taken care of many children throughout my life, and, well, everyone was a child once. You remember what worked and what didn't." There was something in her voice that hinted at untold stories, but Ethan didn't press. Instead, he continued sorting the pieces. The next morning, Ethan woke to voices coming from the living room. When he came downstairs, he found Lily already working on the puzzle, waiting for him. "Daddy, you took so long. I sorted the garden pieces for us." "Sorry, sweetie. I had a few phone calls." "That's okay. We can start now." They spent an hour before breakfast working on the castle garden. Ethan discovered he had a certain skill for identifying patterns, while Lily was excellent with colors and textures. "We make a good team," she said. "We really do." During breakfast, Lily suggested they could play a board game that night. Clara mentioned she had seen some games in the library that looked interesting. "We can try one," Ethan said. "If I don't get home too late." "Can you try to come home earlier?" Lily asked hopefully. Ethan looked at her. When was the last time someone had asked him to come home early? When was the last time he had wanted to come home early? "I'll try." And he really did try. That evening, he managed to leave the office at 6:30, early by his standards. When he got home, he found Lily and Clara in the dining room, with a board game already set up on the table. "You're here," Lily ran to hug him. "We picked a game about building cities. Clara said you'd like it because you like architecture." Ethan looked at Clara, surprised. When had she found out he liked architecture? "I read it in an interview of yours," she explained simply. "You said if you weren't a businessman, you would have been an architect." He was impressed that she had paid attention to such a small detail, and touched that she had chosen a game based on that information. The game was more complex than the puzzle, but just as absorbing. Ethan found himself planning strategies, calculating resources, competing gently with Lily to see who could build the most efficient city. "Daddy, you're really good at this," Lily said when he completed an entire district in one move. "You're doing great too. Your city has an impressive layout." The smile she gave him was radiant. It was the smile of a child who felt seen and valued by her father. They played until almost 9 o'clock, well past Lily's usual bedtime. But she was so excited, so happy, that Ethan didn't have the heart to stop. When they finally went upstairs to put Lily to bed, she was practically buzzing with joy. "That was amazing, Daddy." "Can we play again tomorrow?" "Tomorrow is Thursday, Lily. I have an important meeting." Her little face fell slightly. "But maybe this weekend," he added quickly. "We can spend more time on it on Saturday." "Really? Really?" And on Saturday, he kept his promise. He cancelled the golf game he had scheduled and spent the entire morning playing with Lily. They finished the castle puzzle, tried a card game Clara suggested, and even attempted some origami. Around noon, Clara suggested they have a picnic in the garden. "I'm not sure that's a good idea," Ethan said. "The sun is too strong." "There's a nice shady spot under the oak tree," Clara insisted. "And the fresh air will do us all good." Lily jumped with excitement at the idea, so Ethan agreed. They prepared sandwiches and juice, grabbed a large blanket, and settled in the garden. The spot Clara had chosen was perfect. Under the shade of the tree, a gentle breeze made the midday heat pleasant. Lily ran across the lawn, doing cartwheels and somersaults, something Ethan hadn't seen her do in a long time. "Daddy, look!" she shouted, attempting a round-off. "I did it!" "Very good," he replied, smiling genuinely. Clara had brought a ball, and after lunch she suggested they play a little. It was a simple game, just tossing the ball to each other, trying not to let it drop. But Lily was loving it. "Your turn, Daddy." She threw the ball to him. Ethan caught it and threw it back. Lily tried to catch it, but the ball bounced off her hands and rolled across the lawn. Instead of getting frustrated, she laughed and ran after it. "Try again," she yelled, tossing the ball back. This time she caught it, and then she started to laugh. Not a quiet giggle, but a loud, free laugh that echoed through the garden. Ethan stood still, watching. How long had it been since he saw Lily laugh like that? Completely at ease, uninhibited, as if all the sadness of the past few months had evaporated. "Daddy, are you going to play too?" she asked. "Of course." He took off his shoes and walked onto the lawn. He hadn't done that in years. Walked barefoot on the grass. The sensation was strange, but good. They spent the entire afternoon in the garden, playing ball, running, playing tag. Ethan was surprised to find he still remembered how to play. And even more surprising, he was having fun. At one point, Lily tripped and fell on the grass. Instead of crying, she rolled around and started laughing uncontrollably. "The grass is ticklish," she shouted. Clara threw herself on the grass beside her, laughing too. And then, without much thought, Ethan lay down there with them. The three of them lay on the grass, looking up at the clouds drifting across the blue sky. Lily pointed out shapes she saw in the clouds: a dragon, a castle, a giant rabbit. "That one looks like an ice cream cone," she said, pointing to a particularly fluffy cloud. "Where?" Ethan followed the direction of her finger. "Right there, don't you see it? It even has a cherry on top." Ethan looked closely and suddenly he could see it. The cloud really did look like an ice cream cone. "I see it," he laughed. "It's a chocolate ice cream cone with whipped cream." "Exactly," Lily clapped, thrilled that he understood. They lay there for almost an hour just watching the sky and talking about the shapes of the clouds. It was a simple activity, but there was something profoundly relaxing about it. When they finally got up, the sun was beginning to set. Lily's clothes were grass-stained, her hair was messy, and she had a huge smile on her face. "Daddy," she said, as they were packing up the picnic things, "today was the best day of my life." The words struck Ethan like lightning. He froze mid-motion, one hand holding the picnic blanket. "What?" "Today was the best day of my life," she repeated, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "We played all day, you laughed at my jokes, and we were all together. It was perfect." Ethan felt something stir deep in his chest, an emotion he couldn't quite identify. Pride, perhaps, or satisfaction, or something even deeper than that. When was the last time he had felt truly needed? Not as a provider or the CEO of a company, but as a father. When was the last time his presence had made someone genuinely happy? "It was special for me too," he said, his voice huskier than he intended. "Really?" Lily's eyes sparkled. "Really?" She ran and hugged him, squeezing tight. Ethan returned the hug, smelling her hair, feeling the strength of her small arms around his waist. Over Lily's head, he met Clara's gaze. She was smiling, but there was something more in her eyes. Pride, maybe, or satisfaction at seeing her efforts pay off. That night, after Lily had gone to bed, Ethan stood on the balcony for a while, looking out at the garden where they had played. He could still hear the echo of his daughter's laughter. The best day of her life. And if he were being honest, it might have been one of the best of his too. He hadn't felt that sense of accomplishment in years. Not the satisfaction of closing a deal or watching the company's numbers grow, but something more personal, more real. The feeling that he had made a difference in the life of the person who mattered most to him. And it was all thanks to Clara, who had shown him how simple it was to make his daughter happy. It didn't require expensive gifts or elaborate trips. It just required presence, attention, time. For the first time in a long time, Ethan Vance was looking forward to the next weekend. It was a quiet Tuesday when everything changed. Ethan had come home early, eager to continue the new puzzle they had started the previous weekend. Lily was at school, and Clara was arranging some flowers in the living room when her phone rang. Ethan was in the kitchen getting a glass of water when he heard Clara's voice answer. "Hello?" There was a casual cheerfulness in her voice, as always. But then something changed. Her tone became tense, worried. "What? When did that happen?" Ethan stopped drinking his water, involuntarily paying attention. He didn't mean to eavesdrop, but the urgency in Clara's voice was impossible to ignore. Okay, calm down. I'll see what I can do." There was a long pause. "No, I don't have the money right now. You know I send everything I can. But I'll figure something out, I promise." Ethan frowned. Money? Who was Clara sending money to? "Yes, I understand it's urgent." "Hold up. I'll try to get there as soon as possible." Her voice was starting to break. When she hung up, Ethan heard her sob quietly. He stood in the kitchen for a moment, unsure if he should interfere. Clara always seemed so strong, so in control. Seeing her like this made him uncomfortable. Finally, he walked into the living room. Clara was sitting on the sofa, her face in her hands, the phone lying beside her. "Clara, is everything okay?" She quickly looked up, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "I'm sorry, Mr. Vance. I didn't mean to. It's nothing important." "It doesn't sound like nothing important." Clara hesitated, clearly torn between maintaining her privacy and the need to talk to someone. It's my mom," she said at last. "She's in the hospital. Her condition has worsened." "I'm very sorry. Is it serious?" "The doctors say it is. She needs an urgent surgery, but—" Her voice failed her. But I can't afford it. I already owe the hospital so much money that they're reluctant to perform more procedures." Suddenly, many things started to make sense to Ethan. The mysterious debts that James couldn't explain. The reason Clara worked so hard and still struggled. She was supporting her mother's medical treatment. "How long has your mother been sick?" 2 years, Clara sighed. "It started with some strange symptoms. Weakness, pain. It took the doctors a while to figure out what it was. When they finally diagnosed it," she paused, taking a deep breath. "It's a rare condition. The treatment is expensive." "Very expensive. And you've been paying for everything on your own." "I have no one else. My father died when I was a teenager. It's just me and her." Ethan sat down beside her on the sofa. Now he understood why Clara sometimes seemed older than her age, why there was a quiet sadness behind her smiles. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because it's not your problem," she replied quickly. "You've already done so much for me, giving me a place to live, taking away my basic financial worries. I can't ask for more." "You're not asking. I'm offering." Clara looked at him with surprise. "Mr. Vance, how much do you need for the surgery?" "No, I can't accept that. You've already done too much for me." "Clara, how much?" She hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. $15,000, just for the surgery, not counting the recovery costs, the medication. To Ethan, $15,000 was an insignificant amount. Less than he spent on an occasional weekend, but for Clara, it was obviously an insurmountable mountain. "Consider it done." "I can't accept," she shook her head vigorously. "I can't owe you that much money." "Then don't consider it a loan. Consider it a gift." "Mr. Vance, this is too much." "Clara," he interrupted, surprised by the firmness in his own voice. "You brought my daughter back to life. $15,000 doesn't even begin to cover a fraction of that." Her eyes filled with tears again. I need to go there, to be with her during the surgery. She's alone and scared." "Of course you do. Where is it?" "Chicago. It's where I grew up. My mom still lives there." "When do you need to travel?" "As soon as possible. Today, if I can." "The surgery is tomorrow morning." Ethan looked at the clock. It was 3 in the afternoon. Lily would be home from school in an hour. "I'll arrange a ticket for you. My assistant can take care of it." "Thank you," Clara whispered. "I don't know how I'll ever repay all of this." "You already have, more than you know." They sat in silence for a few minutes. Clara occasionally wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself. Ethan felt strange, as if a void was forming in his chest. "How long will you be gone?" "I don't know. It depends on how she recovers. Maybe a week, maybe more." A week. It seemed like an eternity. How had they gotten so used to Clara's presence so quickly that a week without her seemed daunting? What if she doesn't recover well? What if she needs constant care? Clara was silent for a long time. "Then I'll have to stay there," she said finally. "She's my mother. It's my responsibility." The void in Ethan's chest intensified. He hadn't considered that possibility. What if Clara didn't come back? What if this was really a goodbye? The sound of the front door opening interrupted his thoughts. Lily was home from school. "Clara!" The girl's cheerful voice echoed down the hall. "Where are you? I have to tell you about art class today." Lily ran into the living room, backpack still on, and a radiant smile on her face. But when she saw Clara's red eyes, her smile vanished. "Clara, are you crying?" "What happened?" Clara took a deep breath, trying to find the strength to explain. "Sweetie, I have to go on a trip. My mom is sick, and I need to take care of her." "A trip?" Lily's face contorted with worry. "For how long?" "I don't know exactly. Maybe a week, maybe more." "More?" Lily's voice became small. "You are coming back, right?" "I'll try, sweetie." "I'll try." But there was a hesitation in Clara's voice that didn't go unnoticed by either of them. Lily ran to her and threw herself into her arms, clinging tightly. "Don't go," she said, starting to cry. "You can't leave. I need you here." "Lily, sweetie." "No." Lily tightened her hug. "I already lost my mom. I can't lose you too." The words cut through Clara's heart like a blade. She looked at Ethan over Lily's head, her eyes full of tears. "Lily, I'm not leaving forever," Clara said, her voice choked with emotion. "It's only temporary." "You promise? Promise you'll come back?" Clara hesitated. How could she promise something she wasn't sure she could deliver? "I promise I'll try very, very hard to come back to you." But the answer didn't satisfy Lily, who began to cry harder, clinging to Clara as if it were the last time she would ever see her. Ethan watched the scene with a heavy heart. He saw his daughter's despair, Clara's pain, and felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time, the feeling of losing something important. Something he hadn't even known had become so essential to his life. "When do you need to leave?" he asked. "There's a flight at 8 tonight. If I can get a ticket." "I'll take care of that now." Ethan picked up his phone. "Margaret, I need a ticket to Chicago for tonight." "As soon as possible." As he spoke with his assistant, Lily continued to cling to Clara, whispering pleas for her not to go, promising to be an even better girl if she stayed. When Ethan hung up, the reality of the situation fell upon them all. In a few hours, Clara would be on a plane. The house would go back to how it was before, silent, cold, empty. And for the first time since Clara had come into their lives, Ethan wondered how they had ever managed to live without her, and if they could ever live without her again. The first day without Clara was like a brutal awakening. Ethan woke up at his usual time and went down for coffee, but something was fundamentally wrong. There was no soft music playing in the house. There was no scent of fresh flowers in the air. There was no cheerful voice chatting with the housekeeper in the kitchen. The silence had returned. Mrs. Gable, the housekeeper, prepared breakfast as always, but even she seemed more somber than usual. When Lily came down for breakfast, her eyes were still red from crying the night before. "Good morning, sweetie," Ethan said, trying to sound normal. "Morning," she mumbled, sitting at the table without her usual energy. "What would you like to eat today?" "I'm not hungry." Ethan frowned. Lily was always hungry in the morning. Especially after Clara arrived, breakfasts had become joyful moments, with Lily talking about her dreams or planning the day's activities. "Lily, you need to eat something." "I know," she sighed, picking up a piece of toast and taking a small bite. The rest of breakfast passed in silence. Lily only ate half the toast and didn't touch her orange juice. When it was time to go to school, she said goodbye with a quick kiss and left with her shoulders slumped. Ethan went to the office but had trouble concentrating. Every time he thought of home, he remembered Clara, her smile, how she could make Lily laugh with the simplest things. During lunch, he received a text from her. "Surgery went well. My mother is stable. Thank you for everything. Clara." He breathed a sigh of relief. At least Clara's mother was okay. But when he thought about her return, he realized there was no mention of it in the message. When he got home that evening, he found Lily sitting in the living room, staring at the half-finished puzzle on the coffee table. She hadn't touched a single piece. "Want to continue the puzzle?" he asked. "It's not the same without Clara," Lily replied sadly. "We can try. Maybe it will still be fun." "It won't be." And it wasn't. They tried for 15 minutes, but the atmosphere was heavy. Lily sighed with every piece she placed, and Ethan felt clumsy, as if he had forgotten how to make it work without Clara there to facilitate the interaction. On the second day, the flowers Clara had placed on the living room table began to wilt. Ethan realized that neither he nor Mrs. Gable had thought to change them. It was something Clara did naturally, without anyone asking. Lily barely touched her food at dinner. When Ethan asked if she wanted to watch a movie, she shook her head. "Can I go to bed early tonight?" "Of course, sweetie." But when he went to say goodnight to her, he found Lily awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. "Can't sleep." Clara always told me a story before bed, she whispered. Stories she made up on the spot. About brave princesses and dragons who learned to be kind. Do you want me to tell you a story? Lily looked at him hopefully. But as he began to tell a traditional story he remembered from his own childhood, he realized he didn't have Clara's talent for bringing characters to life. His voice sounded monotonous, lacking the magic Clara put into every word. That's okay, Daddy. Thank you, Lily said politely after a few minutes, but Ethan could tell she just wanted him to stop. On the third day, Ethan realized it wasn't just Lily who was suffering from Clara's absence. He missed her himself. He missed coming home to the sound of cheerful voices from the living room. He missed the smell of fresh flowers. He missed seeing Lily running through the halls, radiant with happiness. But most of all, he missed Clara herself, her warm smiles, how she could make any room feel more welcoming, how she made him feel that being a father was something natural and joyful. For the first time since Sarah had died, Ethan realized he had gotten used to a woman's company in the house. Not necessarily romantically, but there was something about Clara's presence that made everything feel more complete. On the fourth day, Mrs. Gable commented discreetly, "The little one is barely eating, Mr. Vance. She asks about Clara every day." "What does she ask?" "When she's coming back, if she's okay, if she still thinks about us." Ethan felt a tightness in his chest. Lily was hurting in a way he didn't know how to soothe. That night, he tried to play with her again, but it was like trying to recreate a song without the main instrument. Everything sounded false, forced. "Daddy," Lily said suddenly, in the middle of a game of memory. "Yes? Is Clara really coming back? She said she would try. But what if her mom doesn't get better? What if she has to stay there forever?" Ethan had no answer to that question. It was exactly what he had been wondering himself. "I don't know, sweetie. I was thinking that maybe we could visit her." "So she knows we miss her." Lily's suggestion planted a seed in Ethan's mind. Visit Clara, go to Chicago. But then he had a better idea. On the fifth day, Ethan called Clara. "Hello?" Her voice sounded tired. "Clara, it's Ethan. How's your mother?" "Better. The surgery went well, but her recovery is slow. The doctors say she'll need physical therapy for months. And you, how are you feeling?" "Tired, worried. It's hard to see her like this." "Clara, I have a proposal." "A proposal?" "I want to bring your mother here, to recover in my house." There was silence on the other end of the line. "Mr. Vance, that's..." "Before you say it's too much, let me explain. I have the space. I can hire private nurses. Your mother would have the best medical care and you wouldn't have to worry about the costs." "I can't accept that." "Clara," he interrupted her, "you gave my daughter her life back. And me too, if I'm being honest. Lily hasn't been eating properly since you left. She barely talks. The whole house is dead without you. I'm so sorry." "It's not about being sorry, it's about coming back. Lily needs you. And I miss you too." The words came out before he could stop them. There was a truth in them that surprised him. "You miss me?" Clara's voice was soft. "I do, more than I expected." There was a long pause. "But my mom, she's a complicated person. She doesn't like to accept help. She'll be embarrassed. Then convince her. Tell her it's temporary, until she's fully recovered. Tell her Lily needs you. Let me talk to her." "Clara." "Yes, you are both welcome here, for as long as you need." "Thank you," she whispered. "That means so much." 2 days later, Ethan was at the airport with Lily, waiting for the flight from Chicago. Lily could hardly stand still from anxiety. "Are you sure she's really coming?" she asked for the 10th time. "I'm sure." "And her mom? Do you think I'll like her?" "I'm sure you will. And she's going to love you." When the passengers started to deplane, Lily was practically vibrating with anticipation. And then she saw Clara. "Clara!" Lily shouted, running towards her. Clara dropped the bag she was carrying and opened her arms to receive Lily, who threw herself at her with all her might. They stayed like that for long seconds, embracing while Clara whispered in the girl's ear how much she had missed her. Ethan watched the scene with a strange feeling in his chest, relief, gratitude, and something else he couldn't identify. Then he saw the older woman accompanying Clara, grey hair, a slightly stooped posture, leaning on a cane. Her eyes were the same light blue as Clara's, but there was a hardness in them that her daughter didn't possess. "Mom," Clara said, still holding Lily, "this is Ethan Vance, and this is Lily." The woman looked at Ethan with a mixture of embarrassment and suspicion. "Mr. Vance, I don't know how to thank you, although I told Clara it wasn't necessary." "It is necessary." Ethan extended his hand to her. "I'm Ethan, and your daughter is one of the most important people in my family's life." The woman shook his hand briefly. "Rose Miller." "Welcome, Rose." On the way home, Lily didn't stop talking to Clara, telling her everything that had happened while she was away. How she couldn't finish the puzzle, how the flowers had wilted, how quiet the house had become. "I brought something for you," Clara said, rummaging in her bag. "Close your eyes." Lily obeyed, and Clara placed something in her hands. "You can open them." It was a small, delicate, and shiny golden bell. "It's a wishing bell," Clara explained. "Every time you ring it, you can make a wish." "Really?" Lily's eyes sparkled. "Really? But it only works for wishes for good things for other people. Then I'll wish for your mom to get well soon." Rose, who had been quiet the whole trip, looked at her surrogate granddaughter with surprise and a hint of tenderness. When they arrived home, Ethan watched Clara's reaction as she entered. It was as if she were returning to where she belonged. She took a deep breath, smiling as she heard the music Mrs. Gable had put on. "The flowers," she said, noticing the empty vases. "We didn't know which ones to choose," Ethan admitted. "We lost your magic touch." Clara laughed, and the sound echoed through the house like a blessing. "I'll get fresh flowers first thing tomorrow morning." "No," said Lily. "Let's go together." "I want to pick some for your mom, too." Rose, who had been watching the whole interaction, sat down carefully in an armchair. There were tears in her eyes, and Ethan realized she was moved to see how loved Clara was there. "Clara," Ethan said, meeting her eyes. "Yes?" "Welcome back." The smile she gave him was radiant, warm, full of a gratitude that went far beyond words. "Thank you," she said, her eyes welling up, "for everything, for taking care of my mother, for bringing us here, for making us feel like part of a family." Ethan smiled back, a genuine smile that came from somewhere deep in his chest. At that moment, watching Lily hug Clara and Rose look around the house that would be her temporary home, Ethan realized he was whole again. His house had become a home again. 6 weeks had passed since Clara and Rose arrived. Clara's mother was recovering well, with daily physical therapy and the best medical care. But more than that, the house had transformed into something Ethan never imagined possible, a true home. The most surprising change, however, had occurred within himself. On a Saturday morning, Ethan woke up without an alarm, and instead of going straight to his home office to check emails, he went down to the kitchen. He found Clara preparing breakfast, humming softly. She was wearing a simple light blue dress that highlighted her eyes, and there was something in the naturalness of her movements that made him pause at the doorway just to watch her. "Good morning," he finally said. "Good morning. You're up early today. Did you sleep well?" "I did. Better than I have in years." Clara smiled, continuing to stir something on the stove. "Would you like me to make something special?" "Actually," Ethan hesitated, "I was thinking of making breakfast today. For you and Lily." Clara stopped what she was doing and turned to him, surprised but with a warm smile. "What a lovely idea. Lily will love it." "You taught me that," he said simply. Ethan had watched Clara so many times that he knew exactly how she did it. The perfectly golden pancakes, the freshly squeezed juice, the fruit cut into fun shapes. "Need any help?" Clara asked, watching him gather the ingredients. "I think I've got it," he replied, but there was a nervousness in his voice that made her laugh. "I'll stay close by just in case." As he prepared the batter, Ethan was surprised by how much he was enjoying it. There was something comforting in the simple ritual of cooking, in the smell of the batter frying, in the anticipation of seeing Lily's reaction. "You're becoming an expert," Clara commented. "I have a good teacher," he replied, meeting her eyes. There was something different in the look they exchanged, something deeper than friendship, more intimate than gratitude. When Lily came down, still in her unicorn print pajamas with messy hair, she stopped at the door with wide eyes. "Daddy, are you cooking?" "I am. I made special pancakes for you." Lily ran to him and hugged him around the waist. "You're becoming just like Clara, making yummy things for us." The comparison touched him deeply. Being compared to Clara was one of the highest compliments he could receive. During breakfast, the three of them talked about their plans for the day. Lily wanted to show Rose the new drawings she had made. Clara needed to go to the grocery store, and Ethan found that he wanted to do nothing more than stay there with them. "Can I go to the market with you?" he asked Clara. "Of course. And you, Lily, coming with us?" "I am, but first I want to show my drawings to Grandma Rose." Grandma Rose. Lily had adopted Clara's mother as a surrogate grandmother, and Rose, despite her initially reserved personality, had completely melted with the girl's affection. At the market, Ethan pushed the cart while Clara selected the ingredients. She explained each choice. This tomato was perfect. Those herbs were fresh. There was something profoundly normal and special about it. They looked like an ordinary couple shopping for a family dinner. "What are you planning to cook?" he asked. "A special roast with herbs. It was my mother's favorite dish when I was little." Clara smiled nostalgically. "I thought it would be nice to make it for her as a way to celebrate her recovery. Can I help?" Clara looked at him with surprise and tenderness. "I would love your help." That afternoon, Ethan found himself in the kitchen next to Clara, peeling potatoes and chopping vegetables. His hands, accustomed only to signing contracts, now moved carefully with the knife. "You've changed a lot," Clara said suddenly. "How so?" "When we first met, you seemed distant, like you were always in a hurry to be somewhere else." Ethan stopped chopping and looked at her. "That was exactly it. I was always running, from work to home, from home to work. Never really present anywhere," he sighed. "I think I was afraid to stop and feel the emptiness that Sarah's death had left. And now I want to be here, with Lily, with you. I can't imagine wanting to be anywhere else. It's like I've finally found where I belong." Clara smiled, but there were tears in her eyes. "Sarah would be proud," she said softly, "of the wonderful father you've become." The mention of Sarah brought peace instead of pain. Ethan knew that Sarah would approve of how his life had transformed. "I think she would approve of you too," he said. "Approve of how you've cared for Lily with so much love. How you've cared for me too." The dinner was an absolute success. The roast was perfect. The conversation flowed naturally, and Lily was radiant to have her whole family together. Rose told stories from when Clara was little, and Ethan was surprised to find himself contributing naturally to the conversation. "Daddy," Lily said suddenly, "did you know you laughed 5 times during dinner tonight?" "I did," he asked, surprised. "Yes." I counted. "Clara always says it's important to pay attention to the good things." "It is important," he said. "And do you know what else is important? I don't want to miss any more of these good things." After Lily went to bed and Rose retired to her room, Ethan and Clara were left alone in the living room. She was tidying some magazines, and he watched her, trying to find the courage for what he needed to say. "Clara," he said finally. "Yes." She turned, sensing something different in his voice. "I need to tell you something about my feelings." Clara sat in the armchair next to his, giving him her full attention. "When Sarah died," he began, his voice slightly hoarse, "I thought I would never be able to feel true love, real connection, complete happiness again. I thought that part of me had died with her." "Ethan, please, let me finish," he asked, taking her hands. "You came into my life like a warm whirlwind. You brought Lily back to life, but you brought me back too. You taught me that I can still be a good father, that I can still feel joy in simple things. Clara's eyes were glistening with tears. "You did all this for us without asking for anything in return. You cared for Lily with a love I couldn't give. You taught me that love isn't just about grand gestures, but about the small moments that build a life together. About making breakfast on a Saturday morning. About laughing at a 6-year-old's jokes. About turning a cold house into a home full of life. You don't have to thank me for—" "It's not gratitude, Clara," Ethan interrupted her gently. "It's love. I fell in love with you, with your laugh, your generosity, the way you look at the world, always searching for the good side. I fell in love with the woman who managed to make my daughter smile again." He stood up and went to her, kneeling beside her armchair as she had done that first day in the lobby, but now for completely different reasons. "That day, I made a promise out of pride. Today, I'm asking because I love you." Clara's eyes widened, tears running freely down her face. "Clara Miller," he continued, his voice full of emotion, "will you marry me? Not because of a silly promise made by an arrogant man I used to be, but because I can't imagine my life, our life, without you. Because I want us to be a real family." Clara was silent for a moment that felt like an eternity. Then a radiant smile lit up her face. "Yes," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "Yes, I will. I love you too, Ethan, more than I ever thought possible." Ethan stood up and kissed her gently, a kiss full of promises and all the love they had discovered in each other. "Lily is going to flip out," Clara said, wiping her tears. "I think so. And Rose. Rose has already asked me 3 times when you were going to confess." Clara laughed. "She said it was obvious we were in love." Was it really that obvious? To everyone but us. The next morning, they told Lily the news over breakfast. Her reaction was exactly what they expected. "Really? You're getting married?" she shouted, jumping out of her chair. "Really?" Ethan confirmed. "Does that mean Clara is going to be my real mom?" Clara knelt beside Lily's chair. "If you want me to be sweetie, I'll never try to replace your real mom, but I can be an extra mom, someone who loves you very much and wants to take care of you forever." "I do," Lily interrupted, hugging her. "I really do. Now I'll have a mum who's here with me, and the mum who's in heaven watching over me too." Rose, who was having breakfast with them, discreetly wiped away a tear. "Well," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "I guess I'll have to stick around to help plan this wedding." "Are you going to live with us forever?" Lily asked. "If you'll have me, of course. Someone needs to teach Clara the family recipes." "And me too," said Lily. "I want to learn to cook just like you guys." That afternoon, the 3 of them were in the garden under a perfect blue sky. Rose was sitting in a comfortable chair in the shade, watching with a smile on her face. Lily was running barefoot on the lawn, chasing butterflies and singing a song she had made up herself. "Daddy, Clara, come play with me," she shouted. "We're coming," Clara replied, but before joining Lily, she looked at Ethan. There was so much love in that look, so much future ahead, so much promise of happiness. "Thank you," he said, taking her hand. "For what?" "For teaching us how to be a family, for teaching me that it was possible to love again." Clara smiled and squeezed his hand. "We taught each other." They walked together towards Lily, who was waiting with open arms. When they reached her, she threw herself into both their arms, creating a group hug that sealed what everyone already knew in their hearts. They were a family, complete, happy, real. "Now let's play Ring Around the Rosie," Lily commanded, "and Grandma Rose has to play too." Rose stood up from her chair, setting aside her embroidery. "I'm not going to miss the first game with my new complete family." They formed a circle on the lawn and began to spin, singing an old song that Rose knew. Lily laughed so hard she could barely keep singing. Clara spun with her eyes closed, feeling the wind in her hair. Ethan watched everyone around him and felt a peace he didn't know was possible. When they stopped spinning, they were all dizzy and laughing. Lily fell onto the grass, looking up at the clouds. "Look," she pointed to the sky. "That cloud looks like a heart." Everyone looked up. Indeed, there was a heart-shaped cloud right above them. "It's a sign," Lily said with conviction. "Mommy is sending a heart from heaven for our new family." Ethan felt his eyes fill with tears, but they were tears of gratitude. He looked at Clara, who was also emotional, then at Rose, who smiled tenderly, and finally at Lily, who continued to point at the sky with pure joy. As the sun set behind the garden trees, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Ethan realized his journey had reached the right destination. His house had become a home. His daughter was smiling and dreaming again. And he had learned that love is not something you lose forever when you lose someone you love. Love can be reborn. It can grow. It can transform into something even more beautiful. And sometimes, when you're very lucky, it arrives in the form of a blonde cleaner with light blue eyes, a magic button in her pocket, and the ability to turn an arrogant promise into the truest love story of all. A story that was only just beginning. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones.